Welcome to the solar conversation here in the global tiny home community. My name is Lindsay Wood. I am the marketing and sales director with Soul Solutions, and I am super honored and proud to introduce Chaz Paling, founder of Soul Solutions. Hi, Chaz.
Hi, you all. Nice to be here.
We are live, and we were kind of doing a little chit chat with people and it's going to be coming in because we're up to 100 people. People are curious about power storage for options of tiny home. And for anyone, if you are dropping off of any audio or your screen goes blank, exit out and rejoin. Some people will hear audio, some people won't. And let's see, when will we be going solar? When our tiny comes in June. Awesome. Seems intimidating. I've never had solar to explain to me in basic terms. All right, this 30 minutes is really basic. We're going to be diving in. And we'll share with you how we can go a little bit deeper, because 30 minutes is by no means a way to go deeper. We've got, our weekly solar conversations. People want to go off grid. Alchemy, independence, flexibility, energy efficiency. So for you just joining, we're just asking the question, what's your number one reason, or two or three, for why you want to go off grid with your tiny home, or just go off grid? Hey, Jade, I remember you in San Diego. Karen says hi. Everyone's saying hi. Jason, thank you, Jason. And we are asking everyone, why do you want to go solar? So, thank you for chiming in where you're from and why you want to go solar. Freedom to be anywhere. Super true. Unlimited travel opportunities. I don't want to rely on utilities. Independence. Chaz, is this our group or what?
Absolutely.
This is our group.
The tiny home community is already on the path to solar independent power right from the get-go. By the fact that you want to be in your own home, you're already well down the path. The fact that you want to reduce your footprint, you're already well down the path. And so this is going off-grid solar is a lifestyle decision and a lifetime decision, just like going tiny, that will influence all aspects of your life, and you will want to learn what you can about it so that you can be an informed and educated client, consumer, and user of energy, or what we say will get you empowered in knowing all that you can about your own energy use.
And so here's what I want to give you guys a little bit of idea. We're getting used to the Run the World. I've been on for every talk, except for Brent's, because that was right before here. We had to do all this technical stuff. But we are going to be asking questions after we run through our slideshow. I'm loving all the comments of people wanting to go solar and independence. We're going to rock into our slideshow and then come back out for Q&A, because for some reason I can't see the questions or the answers when we are in the slideshow. But I promise you the slideshow is awesome because it really gives you a touch point. And for those that want to go deeper, we'll get into, stick around until the very end. We'll be sharing with you as to how we can take you down that path for your own self. I'm loving all this PG&E outages. That's right, independence. So Chaz, you ready to dive in and go into the solar?
I'd like to hear a little bit, Lindsay, on how you're personally, we've dovetailed a little bit between the tiny home world, the community world, and the solar world over these years, and what's led us to this point now. I think there's a little backstory there while we're live.
That's true. You mean about me and my story? Because it's true.
Your story
I'm living the dream, people. So my world was 2003. I got a green MBA. I chose to focus on sustainability ever since, through a world of biofuels industry, LED lighting, and that's where Chaz and I connected in 2009. And we actually, we'll show you guys a slide, 2009, where tiny homes were a part of our world back then. And then along the way, met my husband and lived in a rental in Marin, realized, way too expensive, and decided to go tiny. And even during the tiny process, our builder went bust. And so we had Soul Solutions install solar on our tiny home, because unlike most people that go tiny, we decided to travel right out of the gate. Like, let's finish our home and then put ourselves on a 6,000-mile journey. That's not typical, but it was surely a lot of fun. And I've met a lot of people We've had over 7,000 people through our tiny home, and our solar system worked perfectly the entire time, unless we used too much power when the sun wasn't out, and that was user error. But we always came back on in the morning, and we're going to dive a little bit more into that. So does that cover, like, my belief, 100% is take care of the planet, smaller house footprint, smaller footprint in terms of consumption of energy, and solar was the best way to do that on our tiny home.
Yeah, and there was many overlaps that we did working together earlier through the event world, and where we showcased solar coming from an off-grid space and saw solar, activate things at events, running, applications, PA speakers for people talking, music stages, running lights, running electronics. That was my background, and working with Lindsay back then, 10, 12 years ago. And then we worked together earlier in the company. We've kept going with this. We've had a long track passion to take this stuff out into the broader world and, educate the users, the public, and their options for this. And we're seeing a lot of interest from the tiny home community and the ready for anything disaster community that many times dovetails with this concept of owning your own power. And I'm more encouraged than ever right now, in spite of the crisis, that there's even more room to go with that and more ways to share that with a lot broader audience. So that's why we're here. We saw this new online tiny home show come on, and we've done a few live tiny home shows in real time. They're always fun, but we're a little bit, having to constrain ourselves there. So luckily we have this technology that we can share it online with you all today.
That's right. You can be virtual and social, but not physical.
We'll hopefully, spread some good news rather than any kind of virus today, and further the conversation and knowledge. Okay.
I just want to share. I've heard, and we're going to be covering these things in there. Can you get energy on cloudy days? We'll be covering that. I want to learn more. I heard a lot of I want to learn. Something about you being quite quiet compared to Lindsay. It may be people needing to turn up, but obviously if I'm talking, I'm a little bit closer to my screen or your microphone. Maybe you turn up your volume, Chaz. That could be someone else's scenario. You guys, can you all hear us? Can we give us a yes? Give us a sound check, Chaz.
Can you hear me?
Awesome. And then we've got questions about DC refrigerator, AC, DC. Good. We've got a lot of yeses. Great. And so I am going to share my screen, which means that we will not be able to see your answers anymore, but we're going to, you got to see this stuff. This is good. This is gold. Okay. So,
we'll do questions.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So we are going to go into, here we go. View. You guys can still hear us? Or you can hear me, Chaz?
Yep.
Okay, great. There we are. Tiny home electric and off-grid solar. Thank you so much, Zach, Jason from tinyhouse.com for inviting us. We knew about this all of 24 hours ago, so we are happy to be here. And I put this together. Once upon a time, there was a tiny home. It needed power, not connected to the grid. And that's where Soul Man came in. So, Chaz, you want to talk a little bit about the Soul Man Classic?
Yeah, this was one of our first real mobile solar generator applications that we built here in Northern California, specifically for off-grid uses for, in many cases, small living, which might have been an off-grid camp or a trailer or even a tent, or the early tiny houses, maybe a cabin. It was all, in my view, before tiny houses were a thing. It was still small scale living in small spaces where you only needed a little bit of electricity. So we were able to come up with some designs that were all totally integrated in a package with the solar panels, with the battery, with the inverter, charge controllers, that would output electricity and be able to be moved around and pulled out wherever you need it. So you brought your power right to where you needed it and plugged in an extension cord. They also have the wonderful added benefit with the wheels of being able to solar track the whole thing. We decided to add some wings onto this so you could put 3 panels and solar track with it. And we were doing some early tiny home installs like this.
And speaking of early, let me just little quick pop quiz. Let me get right to that. How big your solar system depends on the energy consumption of your electrical, that is L, devices and how long you use them. True or false, everyone? And we'll just let everyone kind of answer. I know you're answering. How big depends on the consumption. True or false? What do you think, Chaz? Is it true or false?
Absolutely true.
True. So way back when Chaz was talking about early on, he said it. See that little tiny home in the background? We were interviewing, you were interviewing Kent, and there's the Soul Man back in 2009.
Yeah, one of the early tiny home pioneers on the blogs.
Absolutely. And then we've evolved, and there was someone that asked about weather. So are solar panels viable in lower temperatures?
Absolutely, they will still work, although you have to, think a little common sense, like you got to go out and scrape the snow off. But this was another big solar tiny home combo that we did with Tiny the Movie that came out in 2013. They reached out to us, and we did a Soul Man Classic for them. And their tiny home went on tour and was featured in their movie. I don't know if any of you saw that. That was big for getting the story out on tiny homes, and they were in Colorado in that case.
Awesome. And so another really important question, which is better for my power, solar panels on the ground or on the roof? And featured here is the Soul Man Lithium Deluxe. So we've gone from the Classic to the Lithium Deluxe. So that's when Chaz was talking about adding on more panels. So you can talk a little bit about the ground question as well as the evolution of Soul Man itself.
Yeah, we started getting to the lithium battery technology because everything about off-grid power is battery oriented. And basically, it allowed a little bit more storage. And we constantly get questions about people wanting to put the solar panels on their roof. But the way we saw a lot of tinies used, we thought that was generally not a good idea because the panel always has to face south with no shade. If you want solar power coming in, it's got to be full sun. And if your tiny home roof is facing the wrong way, or you're parked under the shade for, what they call solar cooling, well, then you're not going to get any solar electric. So by divorcing the tiny home from the panels, you actually have a lot more versatility to actually get steady power into your tiny house. And so generally that's what we've gone with in most cases. Not always, though. There's exceptions to that too.
And we personally, my husband and I, because we were going to set off on our travel adventure first, we put the panels on the tiny. But we had the issue in the winter where we were either going to get the sun on the door or have the door open into the shade the entire winter. And we're like, you know what? No way. And we had to plug into the grid because there's no way we could have gotten that much power. So I really personally now, I wish we had our panels disconnected and on the ground. And so the beautiful thing about what's possible with Soul Man is that you can have them on the ground and you can port them, portable. All right. So what if the solar is not enough to keep powering my home? So the conversation around like the winter, or maybe there's cloudy. I know that was the question earlier on. And sorry, you guys, for the screen, sharing your screen little bar there. I have no way to hide it. I wish I could.
So I'll speak to this. All of our off-grid solar products are designed at what we call as a hybrid power system, meaning you have the solar input to keep your batteries charged up and the inverter to convert to 110 AC. But the inverter also functions as a charger, and you can actually plug our systems into external AC that you might get from, say, the grid or a small gas generator. And this is classic off-grid solar design. that if you don't have enough sun or you have bigger loads, you might want to back up power even to the solar and battery, which in many cases off-grid might be a gas generator. So we have an input plug on all our units, and if your batteries are low, it will pass the power through and continue to feed your needs, and it'll do a fast charge on the batteries. That's what we call a hybrid solar battery power system. And these are just examples of different systems right now featured, but all of them do the same thing. So for instance, if you're like really had a heavy load, like your washing machine or dryer, or a bunch of power tools, we would recommend that you have your small generator with you, fired up. In this case, one of these Honda EU3000s. These are really good, high quality and quiet generators. We recommend them. We're not absolutely dead set against fuel generators. They have a place and a need, but you just don't need to run them very often if you have the solar and batteries. You just keep them in reserve for when you have big power needs or there's no sun for several days or it's raining or snow or whatever. Then you bring those in, and you only need to run it occasionally just to charge the battery up. Then you turn it off.
And that's very different than like, I'm going to go with all gas all the time or all solar, but solar has its challenges with regards to how much times the sun's running. So this is a perfect synergy, but where you're really focusing it on your solar system, running most of your power, but having the amendment of the gas and the energy there.
Yeah. With this kind of system, you can basically get guaranteed power 100% year round wherever you are.
Absolutely. Okay, pop quiz. Renewable solar power is the same thing as energy efficiency. True or false? True or false? What do you think, Chaz? What's the answer?
Well, it's not the same, but they're absolutely interrelated.
Correct.
One leads,
false, but true.
other leads to they're actually two sides of the same equation.
Perfect. Awesome. Yeah. So energy efficiency, think of like, if you have a really big refrigerator that's from the 20 years ago is going to use a lot more power than an Energy Star refrigerator of today, right? Just like, more advanced car that's got better gas mileage is going to be better than one that was built in the 70s. So whereas the solar power is coming from the sun, that is what is generating the power that's being used by all your devices. So how much power do I need to run a tiny home? This is kind of a loaded question for you, Chaz, but that's probably a common question you get.
So when we did the Soulman Classics, basically we tell people if you can get by with 15 amps to run your main stuff, like your refrigerator, energy efficient stuff, LED lighting, electronics, and that kind of stuff, you could get by with a lot. Many times it wouldn't run everything, but the key things that you need maybe at night or during the day, the basics, a few fans or something like that, you could get away with. We started seeing people with bigger tiny homes that wanted more power. Like for instance, when people started putting the mini splits on there or more applications, more, basically appliances in the kitchen or bigger
fridge.
Yeah. So we kept building bigger Soulmans, and it just had to go up a scale. And at that point, to get bigger, we had to move away from the cart design because we could only fit so much into a two-wheel cart. So we started doing the Soulman Flex Power units and having separate folding solar panels. The thing that's nice about this was scalable, and we could move it up a notch in the size of the inverter. And we were able to do bigger systems that are running almost everything on these tiny houses now and give them as much as a 30 amp input, which is starting to get into standardized, trailer tiny house inputs in many cases.
And we lived all through the summer either on solar or we plugged into some of the RV parks. They were all 30 amp. We had some options at 50 amp, but you always had to pay more for that. And we really had nothing except for our steam shower to run on 50 amp. But everything else, most likely you're going to run 30 amp, no problem. All right, moving right along. Introducing the Soulman 3000. Woohoo! Super excited to hear and see
latest
this.
and greatest. Taking 15 years of solar generator design and off-grid design with the latest in lithium technology for the batteries, the latest in lightweight, flexible sun power panels, like I have one behind me right here, and the latest in very efficient inverter charger design and the ability to track all your power. We're putting this together for a launch by the beginning of summer this year for the Solman 3000 in 2020. And this is designed to run a standard 30 amp output tiny house for emergency backup on a main house or any kind of temporary power needs that you could want. And it'll take up to 1,600 watts of solar inbound, take a 30 amp generator plug inbound, and still be able to be relatively portable. You could put it in the back of a van or SUV, take it with you.
So Chaz, big question on this one. What essentially is the price point on this that you're sharing?
We're shooting, this one is going to be a very high-end, built in America with all lithium, all high-end, longer warranty. This is going to be about $8,000 to $10,000 out the door.
It's great. I mean, we paid for our system and had Soul Solutions install, but not the Soulman 3000, and we paid far more than that for our system. And so what's so amazing is that those panels can still be on the ground. This can actually roll up. You can design this into your tiny home where you can roll it up into the back or even the back of a truck and really make it portable. And so you're not fixated on having to have them on your roof. You can have them on the ground and start moving them. You know, every season the sun changes. So do you want to change your home every time? No. You want to ideally change your solar to get the maximum. Okay, so awesome. And so in addition to the Soulman 3000, what if I wanted to have solar integrated into my tiny home?
And in that case, if you're willing to be bringing your tiny home into NorCal, where we can actually work on it, we do off-grid and specially custom designs like this, which is a major 32-foot Simplicity custom home, really nice, with our friend Simplicity in Colorado. That's our way. And they wanted a full-on system to run everything, including washer dryers, mini splits, blah, blah, blah. And we designed this one here. This is an Outback 3.5 kW system with 1,200 watts of folding solar panels, all integrated to their ACN shore power and all lithium battery. And basically, this is probably about as good as you're going to get for a tiny house installed system. It would be possible if you were going to be in a sunny place with your rig like this with this much roof to put all the solar on the roof, as long as you understood you better be out in the sun with it.
Right.
That would be another way to go.
And in addition to that, we also can run solar onto a van or RV. This is a great custom design installation done by Soul Solutions. There's the current shop. We're actually going to be moving shortly, but still in Santa Rosa. So that's a really exciting way for people to get on the road and have solar power. The van life is absolutely very much off-grid because having to always pull into an RV park to plug in everywhere, and maybe it's not the right amperage or whatnot, makes that independence really high on your on the list. So, and to let you guys know, we are doing weekly Solar for a Sustainable Planet webinar series, Hour of Solar Power, Wednesdays, 12 to 1 p.m. It's funny, my little link, I think it left. So we are having on May 6th, off-grid options for the mobile tiny home trailer RV. Interestingly enough, the April 29th, backup power options when the grid goes down. The Soulman 3000 is totally interchangeable. Whether you have a full-size home and you wanted to power your fridge and computer and devices during that power outage, especially here in California where it's a known thing, or you wanted to run your tiny home, the Soulman 3000 is ideal for that. So I want to give a big shout out to thank you all the attendees. We're going to jump back in and the team at tinyhouse.com for hosting this. This is a way that you guys can get a hold of us. And my husband, Eric, is going to be throwing these information into the questions so that you guys can take the links. the tinyurl.com/solar tiny homes. That's where you can go and sign up for the webinar that we're going to be hosting. And we're going to also host workshops for you to really go through all your load calcs. Obviously 30 minutes is just a little quick nibble at the solar world. But wanted just to kind of share that with you guys and stop sharing my screen so we can get back into the world. So if you guys have any questions, I'm going to go to the very bottom of the questions, and please put them in fresh and new because I couldn't go back to all the other ones. Thank you. We've got tiny URL right there. That's been put in there. So pros and cons of lithium versus AGM batteries, Chaz.
The lithium is the most modern battery technology running right now. You get almost twice as much power in the same size format. And also it'll go deeper, much deeper than the AGM, lead-based batteries. They're much lighter by about half. And it's looking like the lifespan and guarantees on them are almost double the lead acid style battery stuff. So most of the solar battery world is moving into the lithium battery phase right now, and we're proving them out. We have a number of brands. We're really liking everything we see.
And that actually is another question, Chaz. What is your battery recommendations for people that want a super DIY, where to go?
Well, we, like I said, we work with all kinds of battery technology, and there's a big span in the price points on the battery. The typical deep cycle batteries. We work with a big distributor that's actually all over the country, and we're swapping and getting batteries for people to swap out in their rigs all the time, both in the RV and trailer world also. We have a lot of activity there.
Cool. And then there's another question for storing the panels and the theft and cloudy days. So you can store your panels while you're traveling in the back of your truck. Or maybe in your tiny home. If you're really on the travel mode, I know when we mounted them to our own roof, it was great. But those are some other considerations. If it depends on how much you're going to travel. In terms of theft and cloudy days, that's the cloudy days we covered with the whole, you might want to add on a generator, which is Soulman 3000 you can add on. Theft wise, got any ideas for that, Chaz?
Well, if they're mounted properly, if for instance they're up on a roof up high and there's some anti-theft things you can do that way, or the panels that you put inside your tiny house and take with you and lock. Like I mentioned, these new SunPower Flexes are super lightweight and very easy to move in and out and don't take up much space. We see these as the next big wave actually in the mobile solar world right now. We're very happy. A lot of people are up.
Eric, make sure you put in the Soul Solutions information in the questions so you guys all can find out more about this, because we are in that 3 minutes. Let me find one last question. If you guys, it's free every week on Wednesdays. Let me share the screen one last time and see if I can get you guys that final link, the tinyurl.com/solar tiny homes will get you to signing up for the Zoom webinar. And we'll be doing a deeper dive on the backup for your home if the power goes down. And also on May 6th, we'll be doing all about tiny homes. We'll be talking for an hour about this. And these are great questions. We're going to copy all the questions from the chat and make sure we grab all of them. So thanks so much, you guys. I really appreciate all of that commitment and dedication to being here. Thank you very much, Zach.
A little bit longer if we want for questions too. Whoever wants to stay, right?
Well, yes, but unfortunately, we also have our other speakers on the other room, so I wouldn't want to, we got to respect.
All right.
Definitely go to the tiny URL conversation, and Eric is going to grab all the questions, and we'll figure out a way. I'm sure there's some opportunity in the future with Zach and Jason for us to communicate out, because this is a hot topic.
Yeah, it takes a little bit more time to get the deeper dive with the questions. There's a lot of questions usually.
Yeah, awesome, you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, all you folks, and here's to your empowerment going forward.
Yay.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you, Chaz.